Previously, in our previous lessons, we were talking about the decrease in price of normal good, given good and inferior good. Usually, in my experience, I have learned one thing. Whatever they have mentioned in the book, they are going to ask an opposite case in the exam. Like we have studied what happens to the substitution and income effects of a normal good when price falls. But when you sit in the exam, there is going to be a question, what happens to the substitution and income effects of a normal good due to increase in its price? And this case was previously not mentioned in the textbooks, but I have seen a few questions related to this topic. So in the new book, they have also given a diagrammatic explanation of a normal good substitution and income effects when the price of normal good is going to increase. Clear? So we studied when price of a normal good decreases, its substitution and income effects both are positive and they are increasing the consumption of a normal good. That's why we had a downward sloping normal demand curve. We had also studied the substitution and income effects of given and inferior goods when price falls. Now here what is happening? Now price of normal good is going to increase. Again we are analyzing diagrammatic analysis. We are doing for good X. Which food is it? Good X. We can say it is food and this is clothing. This is good Y. Now what happens when we have this budget line and indifference curve? This is indifference curve 1. This is equilibrium point 1. Consumer is having this consumption of X1 before the price change. Follow the point? So now what happens to the budget line when price of X increases? It will have pivotal inward shift. There is going to be inward rotation of the budget line, or can I say the slope of budget line will become steeper when price of X increases. So what happens? This is the case when this is budget line 1, you can say this is budget line 2. Rather to write over here, we have to write this is budget line 2, this is budget line 1. Now consumer is going to have the consumption of X at this point. This is the total effect of from X1 to X3. This is the total effect of increase in the price of this normal good. Now it can be divided into two effects. One is the substitution effect and another is the income effect. Okay, let me know what happens to the real income of the consumer when price of X increases. His purchasing power decrease because the nominal income of consumer is fixed. It is not going to change. Only due to the change in price, his real income or real purchasing power of income will change. So in this case, price of X is increasing. Therefore, his real purchasing power of income or real income of the consumer has decreased. Within the same income, he or she is able to afford less number of both the goods. But here, we are talking about how consumer is moving from X1 to X3. Now this is the total effect. You can say from 8 to 3 units. The 5 unit is the total effect of increase in price. Now it is going to be divided into two effects. In order to see the substitution effect, consumer must consume along his previous difference curve at new price. his real income has gone down. Imaginary, we will give him income in order to stay along his previous difference. If we give him income, previously we were taking some part of income from the consumer when his real income was increasing. So in imaginary, if we give him income and ask him to consume along his previous indifference curve at new price level, so this budget line 2 will have parallel outward shift at this point. Okay, this is going to have a crossing of the budget line with a difference curve. This is a not right thing. It should not be crossing with each other. Rather, we have a indifference curve in such a way that it shows us a good tangency condition. Clear? So this is the indifference curve. So this is going to make a tangency condition at this point. If we draw a right budget line. So if we have seen that this is a new imaginary budget line in which we have given the consumer income to stay along his previous indifference curve at this point. He is going to decrease the consumption of X due to increase in its price. He is substituting X with Y because Y is now relatively lower price. So from movement of the consumer from E1 to E2, how much is the movement? From X1 to X2. This movement is called what the substitution effect of the increasing price. At new price level, if we ask him to stay along his previous welfare level, so this rotated budget line will have rightward shift. So what is the substitution effect? It is negative. What it is? Negative says consumer should buy less of X as it has become expensive in its price. Okay? He is increasing the consumption of other good rather than the consumption of good X. Clear? So from unit 8 to 7, we say this is the substitution effect. What it is? The substitution effect. And from 7 to 3, this is the substitution effect of increasing price. This is the income effect. Now see, both. Why consumer is decreasing the consumption of X to point E3? This is the equilibrium point E3. Why is it staying at E3? Income effect is saying your real income has gone down by less of this good. So income effect is also negative. Substitution effect is also negative. That's why consumer is buying less of a normal good when its price increases. Clear? Substitution effect means that when price of a good increases, he is going to consume less of it and he is substituting this good where price has increased with the other good which is relatively low price. In order to see that, we give him income and this budget line, the rotated budget line will have parallel rightward shift as its slope has changed. So it is making a tangency condition at this point. हमने उसका substitution effect देखा ना. That's why we are going to have, if he stays along his previous difference curve at new prices, how many units of X he will decrease? Okay, so in order to see that, we are shifting this rotated budget line outward. As previously we were shifting it down to the previous difference curve in our previous lesson. So this movement from E1 to E2 is showing us the substitution. It is negative when price increases, it is decreasing the consumption, and his income effect is saying your income has gone down, buy less of it. So both substitution and income effects, they are moving in same direction. They are going to decrease the consumption of normal good. That's why we have what? The demand curve of normal good when price increases, again it is downward sloping because substitution effect and income effects both are encouraging or discouraging the consumer to buy less of this product as it has become expensive in one way, and on the other way the real income of consumer has also been decreased. So this is the main reason why we say if we draw it more clearly, then you can have more visibility. For example, this was our previous budget line and consumer was having this tangency condition, clear? X1, and now he is here, I am making it further steeper, clear? This is E1, so this is what in difference curve, this is E3 basically, this is X3. Now this budget line when it shifts rightward, here it is going to make a tangency condition at E3. So this movement from E1 to E2, this is called what? X1 to X2, this is the substitution effect, and from X2 to X3, this is the income effect. Alright? As we make it more steeper, it can be more clearer to us. This was previously, this analysis of increasing price was not present in our previous textbook of Capital University. Now they have also mentioned it in the chapter of consumer behavior. Now that is the end of our consumer behavior analysis. We are going to find some limitations of this approach of indifference curve and budget line, which I said to you, this is ordinal approach. Ordinal means we are not measuring utility in terms of numbers. Rather, we assume that the consumers are ranking the goods according to their preferences. Clear? So, can I say this is more realistic model of consumer behavior than the previous approach of cardinal approach? You can say it is having more realistic approach, but the limitations are that it is only a two good model. We are taking only two goods on the axis to see the consumer behavior. And in real life, we are not having the consumption of only two goods, we are having more than two goods. So how can we analyze the consumer behavior when he is buying more than two goods in the market within his income and given prices of the goods? So there is a limitation, it is only having two goods model over here. And the second limitation is that, what is the limitation? Consumers' preferences can be the strict one. Strict preferences means what? Be attentive now. What are the strict preferences? If you are strictly preferring chicken over mutton and mutton over beef, every time you are going to have this type of pattern of consumption. Clear? So indifference curve is showing those combinations where consumer is indifferent, where utility is same. So if consumer is having strict preferences, they cannot be represented by indifference curve. Can we represent that? So it is showing us only in different situation when utility remains same for different combination. But sometimes if you like chicken more than mutton or beef, those strict preferences cannot be represented by indifference curve. Alright. Third one, when we buy the durables, like we are buying a house for our long-term use, do we have the equation, what is the marginal utility of buying a durable item like house and what the price we are paying? Do you think the marginal utility and price, you are always, a consumer is always operating the thing in the market when he is buying the durables? There is no way. Clear? So this is going to have a limitation. How can we represent the marginal utility or total satisfaction of the durable items when we are paying a very high price for a house to buy? So can we assess that the utility we will gain that will be equated in the long run? How much time it will take? Sometimes the durables which we are buying, they are becoming uncertain. Their use of utility is becoming uncertain. Clear? So the third thing, we also assumed that consumer is rational. What do we mean by rational? He or she is always preferring more quantity of a good over the lower quantity, less quantity. So he is preferring more to less. So this is also irrelevant assumption in some cases when consumers are guided by the advertisements to buy. They are following the trends in the advertisements they are watching. Clear? So the rationality assumption will not be applied in the market when consumer is buying the goods due to advertisement. Or impulse buying. What is the impulse buying? Goods are properly displayed in any shopping mall. You are not having an idea which one to buy just by the beautiful display of the goods. You are not considering the utility of that good to you, but you are still buying. The consumer is still buying the products without considering its market utility when goods are properly displayed in the shopping mall. So we say the consumer is not showing a rational behavior in a practical life where goods are having the influence on the consumer due to their attractive advertisements or their attractive displays in the shopping malls, or we have the durables to buy, or we have consumer is going to have more goods to buy than the two goods model. Clear? So all these are the limitations of the consumer behavior approach which we adopted, where utility is not measured in terms of numbers, rather we rank the good according to their satisfaction level. Clear? That's about the consumer behavior. Now we will be starting producer behavior onward, and that is a lengthy part of our microeconomics, and then if that is completed within 1 month, then we will be able to cover most part of our syllabus. Clear? Thank you.